Working in pharma, no 2 days are the same. Initially, I thought, oh, what a setback. The ideal work setup is where you can have fun.
It wasn't all just like all happy days. And actually, it's probably one of the worst kind of teams I'd been in terms of culture, management style, and all.
Everyone needs to be, first of all, very mindful of what each other is going through.
What kind of position do you think we're in right now as an industry in terms of offering that kind of stuff that really meets the needs of our customers?
Everything's kind of like AI. Oh no, we're going to be replaced by AI. Are we really working? Because we felt like we're having too much fun. The days in our former company are truly best case examples of how medical marketing should work together. The modern day medical affairs professional is.
Hey, welcome back for another episode of Final Form with me, Amish Patel. Thank you so much for tuning in, subscribing, and following. So, today I want to share a conversation with Philip Cruz, who is the country medical director at Moderna. Now, I'd planned a few things for this conversation, but actually, it took me to some pretty unexpected places, and I'm so glad that it did. Because I think whether you're a medical affairs professional, work in another job function, or completely even in a different industry, I think there's a lot in this conversation that you can take out of this and apply to what you do. So let's go. Hey, Philip Cruz, welcome to the Final Form podcast. I want to get straight into it. I've been doing a bit of research and I saw on your LinkedIn profile that you're into football. And you said that a pundit was once describing your favorite football player as the modern day player, one who could play midfield, left, right, and even a striker. Um, and that you describe yourself as a modern day medical affairs professional. So, with that context in mind, I'd love to kind of hear what that actually means in terms of your role.
First of all, thank you very much for this opportunity. It's always an honor, Amish, and especially to be on Final Form. But yeah, I mean, the modern day medical affairs professional is a role that really looks into the depths of what a medical affairs professional would be. And this would be looking at the different skills, experiences, competencies, capabilities. So basically, I think it's really where the medical affairs person would be seen as a co-creator, not just a support function in a team, to be really very much interactive, molding the strategies, contributing not just, okay, what's compliant along the lines of medical governance, but also what the science brings and what it doesn't, really having that very much realistic view of understanding what is really ultimately for the patient. So, understanding the treatment pathways, looking at different aspects of that, and molding it into the business or into the products and the medicines that the company brings.
Linked to that very much. So your role as country medical director at Moderna. So I guess what do you see anything different there as your primary purpose of that role? Or do you see that as a combination of everything you've just said there?
It's quite encompassing. A role of a country medical director looks at everything really. For one, I could be a coach. Other times, I could be a mentor. Oftentimes, I'm a strategic partner. But overall, I think it's really the capability to pivot into whatever the company needs you to be, and especially what the people need you to be, especially for your team. And as I had a team of medics, of medical affairs professionals, it's incumbent for me to take care of them and leading by example, really showing them not just the ropes, but also maximizing their potential, realizing what they're capable of, guiding them through that, and essentially finding what their style, their ways of doing medical affairs on a day-to-day basis is. Because, as you know, working in pharma, no 2 days are the same, as the proverbial saying goes. And so that also lends to the type of person to be in this specific role. One has to be resilient, agile, very much open, strong in reaching out, communication skills. But I think really what ties everything in is if you can simplify what you're doing, simplify the science, simplify the messages. I think that really brings the best value for you in the role.
And I think before we move further, I think people that are listening and watching are probably now wondering as well, who's your favorite football player?
Oh, there's a lot, of course. R9 Ronaldo comes to mind because yeah, it's all about the skills and how he navigates around. At the same time, it's football in its purest form. I mean, for me, also looking that and translating that in what you do, being mindful of the quality of your work, your attention to detail, the quality that you bring, because it's all about the brand that you create. And so I think really how, especially the modern day professional would be, case in point in medical affairs, is what's your branding? What brand you want to put out? And how would you want people to know you as? If the best example is like at one point in my career I was seen as a very collaborative person, one that also connects well with the scientific community. So build on that, know your strengths, and very much so look into development areas, because the day you stop learning is the day you stop growing. And for us it's always a area of continuous growth. And as you know, with what we have right now, not just in the field of digital, solutions and all those buzzwords at the moment. It's all about also being relevant, not just to the company, but also to the patient and the ones taking care of the patients.
And you talked earlier about partnerships and kind of strategic partnerships within role. And as you know, my background is marketing, and that's where we met back in the day at GSK. Um, so I guess what are your thoughts and experiences around the state of that medical marketing partnership, whether that's now or over time as you've seen it in your career?
Well, Amish, I would say the days in our former company are truly best case examples of how medical marketing should work together. It's all about having communication lines that are truly open, honest, and really having that trust. And just on the communication piece, it's all about co creating as well, listening to each other. The true essence of listening, not listening because or hearing just because you want to say something, but really listening and being silent and absorbing what the other person is saying, because obviously it's all about as one team. Eventually you roll out a strategy that needs to be consolidated, not just in business priorities but also what's relevant for the patient, and marrying that is basically what we were doing in our roles. And at the same time, having all the facets of doing it in a compliant way, doing it in a way that could be measured using KPIs and what have you. So it all ties in really. And like I said, in terms of really having that strong working relationship and communication lines are key to maintaining that.
Yeah, I love that. I definitely have some fond memories there of exactly that partnership and like co-creating, as you said, is the key word there, right?
Exactly, Amish. I was about to say, it's also about having really human connections. I mean, yeah, there are things that you can say by email, but sometimes it's just okay to hop over the next table and have a chat. And nowadays, where people work remotely, it's a bit difficult to have that, but you can always pick up the phone or go on a call and have that discussion, because sometimes it all it takes is really a conversation.
100%. And I think that's exactly it. I think there's so many ways we can communicate with each other. And I think sometimes it is a bit of a almost a bit of a cop out, just like almost relying on that saying we're now remote, we're working from home. I think, yeah, there's so many ways that we can get in touch, work on things together early on as well. So that essentially the whole journey becomes better. And then the ultimate output is the optimal it can be. On the flip side of that, I was wondering either have you experienced yourself or seen from afar where maybe that partnership isn't so great and what that means for both parties or other functions internally, but also what that then results in externally as well.
Yeah, and these are instances where probably there are rush deadlines. The pressure gets to the system when there are so many things that needed to be done in such a constrained amount of time. And so this is where everyone needs to step up. Everyone needs to be, first of all, very mindful of what each other is going through. Even though you have your own personal deadlines, your personal deliverables, you have to be mindful as well that the people have their own as well. And it's all about having being a cross-functional team. And again, just borrowing a saying that we have been hearing, it's about going further as a team rather than individually. You can go faster, but at the end of the day, it's all about who the team getting at the desired endpoint. And so these are all the factors that one needs to be mindful, because eventually it's all about the longevity and the long-term sustainability of how we work. We can all really crush deadlines and exert extra effort, but at the end of the day, it's not sustainable. And so we have to really take care of ourselves more importantly. We should realize that there is a finite energy level for all of us. It's all about conserving that energy as well. Don't sweat the small stuff. I mean, just focus on really what matters. Things that are of minute detail, let it will take care of itself. But it's all about really having a big picture sometimes. Just step back or take a moment to reflect, inhale, exhale, and just look at it in that view, because sometimes you just need to change your perspective if you're stuck, and that's when you find solutions.
I was wondering, I guess, easy for us to say sitting here. I wonder if you've had those instances where 100% you know what you need to do and the mindset you need to have, but maybe other people don't. Is there a specific thing you've done potentially to maybe intervene where things haven't been going right with an individual or a team or a function?
Yes, of course. And one clear example here is when I experienced those challenges. I've come to realize that as I have grown into my role all these years, the synapses don't work as well in my brain. So I needed more time to process things. So what I do is I take my dog out for a walk and just connecting with nature and breathing air outside somehow gives you the stimulus to look at things in a different manner, and that's when I get really these ideas coming in. And so just change really the pace environment that forces you to somehow look at it in a different way. So those are the things that somehow help. The tincture of time also helps. Don't rush to respond in that email that was strongly written. Again, just recalling how just we are living in a remote working environment where face-to-face interaction is now somehow more of an exception rather than the rule. We've seen emails there, and the digital world tried to make up for the lack of human interaction by putting emojis, but it's not perfect. But then again, just to realize the human connections that we kind of like miss working in a common space. So just being mindful of that, and also being mindful of a cross-functional team. Nowadays, the cross-functional team is right front center of everything that we do. And so you have to be collaborative, one who is very attentive, receptive, and at the same time just being mindful of all of these to be an effective team player.
Yeah, I love that. And I think some of the things I was hearing from you almost throughout this conversation so far is that kind of that empathy and really just putting yourself in other people's shoes, right? And sometimes maybe when you are getting swept away in the whirlwind, is to have those things that you can rely on yourself that will kind of take you out and give you that time to reflect. So, like you said, taking your dog out for a walk and just having that wider perspective, that time to think, to really then come to some sort of solution and understanding that can help you push forwards as a team.
Yeah, exactly, Amish. And I guess really
Mhm.
being mindful. One example is if there's a colleague who's being difficult,
Mm.
just take time to realize that that person might be going through something. So again, instead of just being confrontational and asking that person what's wrong, try to understand, are you okay? Are you going through something that we can have a chat about? park work and let's talk about you for now, because they might be going through a phase or something that probably you can help just by talking it out. And so you're doing that person a favor, by really listening and not just looking at what's at hand, because ultimately if you invest time to address that, that could definitely get back to you in a longer term, beneficial way.
It's so key, and I think we almost need to be reminded of that, especially in the remote world where majority of the time is still at home. Because I think in those instances, your diary, your meetings are usually all to do with work, and you just jump onto a call, start talking about work. You don't really get the time to talk with your colleagues and your other cross-functional partners around other stuff outside of work. You just get straight into it, right? Whereas, yeah, back in the day when you're face to face, like you said, you could have chats, you'd go out maybe after work or have lunch together and all of that. So I think it's reminding ourselves to just put in time in the diary to have a chat about non work related things sometimes.
Exactly. And just going back to the work space, it's also important to really just connect with your partners. Like for medical, is to connect with marketing and listening what the primary intent is. And I guess really just to frame your understanding when we work with as a team is always go back to the intent. I know we talked about governance and all, and sometimes it has to do with the why. Why are we doing this? Having that discussion, starting from the same baseline, you can then reach the same levels at the same time and the same manner of understanding. So I guess it's important, to also have that clear mindset of how you work cross collaboratively.
Yeah, that intent with that medical marketing sales partnership as well. Um, I guess on that note as well, if you think about the content, the services, the tools that Pharma offers to healthcare professionals and other customer groups. I guess what kind of position do you think we're in right now as an industry in terms of offering that kind of stuff that really meets the needs of our customers?
Yeah, and my views obviously center around the medical side of the industry. And right now, it's quite an engaging phase, I would say, because of the fact that we're mindful when we talk about the patient to be included in the way we do our plans. For example, in the way we conduct clinical trials, patients are involved early on. For example, in looking at consent forms, making sure that the language is a language that is written for the patient to understand. And it's also being mindful that you don't want to bombard patients with tons of pages of informed consent forms, for example. But at the same time, working with patient advocacy groups, getting their insights as well early on in clinical development, but at the same time making sure that what you do is relevant. For example, the topics of inclusion and diversity in clinical trials, that is really a core principle that we need to be relevant in having the right patient for the right medicine in the right manner of how you evaluate these. And so you'll see more studies that show that the patient is really central in everything that is being planned and set out to do.
Just thinking along the lines of you've talked a lot about the patient side of things from clinical trials and maybe some support there. So, what about from the healthcare professional side of things? So, from what medical affairs do, whether that's from head office or MSL based type roles as well. What do you think around that interaction and kind of the grow? I think there's a growing importance of it myself, to be honest, versus the more marketing side of things. So, yeah, I'd love to hear your views on that.
Oh, yes, especially with scientific exchange. There is that opportunity, obviously, when in the product life cycle of a medicine, where healthcare professionals, their views are important to consider as they are in the front lines of healthcare. And so, obviously, their views really matter because they are the ones facing the patient. We should help them and arm them with discussion points of how to explain to patients if this medicine is supposedly taken this way or what to expect in terms of any events to watch out for. So it's being mindful of really the care of the patient And medical affairs don't really stop on just the idea or the data with the medicine, but what happens thereafter is important. Looking at how the product development continues, watching out and being a partner in terms of safety and what we call pharmacovigilance. That is very important. Reminding healthcare professionals and patients as well that there is safety events reporting. Just being mindful of the really end-to-end patient care pathway that is out there. So yeah, you could be an essential part of that.
Um, so I wanna take it back to something else I saw on your LinkedIn profile. So this is where you got to be careful about what you write online because I can quote it back to you. So you write, working in the vaccines and medical affairs for more than 10 years has built your immunity to overcome challenges and stresses in the work environment, um, which you also manage by injecting your sense of dad humor, as you say, to otherwise boring and data heavy discussions. So I guess maybe on that theme, I wanted to kind of get specific really around any specific challenges you have had within the last 12 to 18 months. I'd really like to understand kind of your approach and kind of your methodology of how you come to overcome it.
The ideal work setup is where you can have fun, and also me injecting my brand of dad jokes, of course, in a way that it's naturally built in, somehow lightens the mood, gets everyone really to be more engaged. So that somehow is a good icebreaker, if you will, and so which I've used in some of my meetings, and that's why I wrote that.
I've got to say as well, I was going to say as well, like I loved it, and I like reading that made me laugh because it just reminded me again of like interactions we've had as well. So I can speak from experience to say you've done what you've definitely written there as well. So yeah, but back over to you.
It's all about creating a rapport, and probably that's my background as a pediatrician, where you need to have that rapport with children, and so that's one way of connecting to my patients back then. But yeah, looking back at what the challenges for the past year are, is really how well there's so many. Of course, one would relate it to moving away from the pandemic way of working, but at the same time, again, working in a remote manner where now that's kind of like the rule rather than the exception. I know companies have tried to get employees back, and that is always an aspiration. But again, looking at how remote working has been. But with regards to solutions, I think one um, example that I can give you is where people have tried to jump into the bandwagon of AI. Everything's kind of like AI. Oh no, we're going to be replaced by AI. But no, I've read it also in LinkedIn where our roles will be replaced by people who will know how to use AI. AI will not replace. It's more people who really would adapt and figure out how to use it. And so that also is a testament of how we should continuously develop ourselves, be it reinvent ourselves, but at the same time always become relevant. And that's the value that you bring. That's the modern day medical affairs professional, where you understand what the current issues are, at least have a view, have a point of view. And that is all very important when you go into meetings and you're able to provide your take on a certain topic or a certain issue. So yeah, it's all about being a contributing member of the team.
I think you know where maybe my next question is going to be then. So, what is your point of view on AI and how it will help pharma?
Oh yeah, definitely. You have to also get into that wave of AI awareness, at least awareness. And I guess my latest badge on LinkedIn is my AI awareness badge.
Ah, yes, I saw that this morning. Yes.
Exactly. It's important to at least have an understanding, and really, it's all about debunking myths of what AI is perceived to be. And I guess really that's what we need to be mindful, to not take everything of face value, and that is cut across, and to look for yourselves, discover it, and learn, and see and create your own point of view.
And are you using it yourself in any way already?
Well, I got excited about MChat. Chat GPT. So that's something that is impressive. You know, that can only get better. And so using that as a tool, you know, if you can just use that to validate or get some other insights, then so be it. I mean, that is really an exciting tool that is within our midst. So might as well use it.
Yeah. Is that, and you said MChat, is that like an internal version?
That's an internal one. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, it seems like everybody's got this now, actually, which is really good because it's giving everybody that playing field to play around with it. And is there anything specific you use that for within your workplace?
Well, actually, for me right now, it's more exploring what the capabilities are, and I guess it's more looking at summaries and how it can condense information, and just validating what you write. Eventually, it's still how you write or compose, let's say, an article or a paragraph. So it's kind of like if you could validate it in a way. So it is important to know what the right prompts are, so it's like write this as an expert or as an auditor. So you have that different angle that ChatGPT can bring into article that you're looking at.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm not an expert, but yeah, I think yeah, the prompts definitely, but then also yeah, the actual data that's being fed into the stuff that it's learning off, I think so important, right? But yeah, I'm not an expert in it, so I won't go deep into that.
What is scary, Amy, is just the photos that are being AI generated. It's like wow. So that helps because that somehow addresses the copyright issues, and you can come up with very much bespoke themes, which could help. And for me, I use that especially because one of my interests would be in terms of presenting. Having fun, creative slides that could help you put the message across. So you can use some of those imagery to create a wonderful image you could put on slides.
I guess on that topic, but maybe slightly different. I think we've talked about AI quite a bit now, but like, what does excite you about the future of pharma and where this industry could go going forwards?
Well, definitely it's exciting in the world of pharma. You just need to look at the latest advances and news. So more on personalized medicine in a way in the future. All of these developments that go into just really, kind of exploring the human genome. That was a specific milestone of science that really put forth a lot of options and really those opportunities. So that is in broadly is a way that kind of excites me when you look at and listen and read news on that front.
Linked to that point, but also your earlier point about a modern day medical affairs professional just being in the know, having an opinion on something. I guess what do you do to stay up to date on things, trends, etc., or new things coming, especially in a world where we're so busy, our to do lists are really big and they're never ending. Like, yeah, what does that look like for you to stay up to date on these trends?
A lot of views I framed has been derived from me attending conferences, and especially those who where topics of really innovative science are put forth. But you have to be also discerning because not all conferences are alike, and so you need to be mindful of which conferences that you must attend to be well informed. And you would have flags there, like for example, if it's a renowned, well-respected institution, most often than not, that their conferences are really of high yield and of high value. So attending those, listening really to topics of interest that you can see. YouTube is there, but obviously it's it's kind of like a minefield there. You don't know what is validated and what isn't. So again, just attending those scientific conferences is still very important. And the thing right now, especially, you can attend those conferences in a hybrid manner. You don't need to travel or do it face to face. You can have the option to dial in, or you can purchase a recording. So catching up on those types of conferences, and you can also come across free ones at that. So you can have some institutions providing sponsored webinars or lectures that speak about certain technologies. So it's worth attending those as well. Or you can watch the recording. So any which way.
One of the big things that I've done over the last few years as well, and it's definitely helped. I think even on the hybrid ones and online ones, you can also network as well. And I know that's a big driver to attend some of them, but depending on the platforms that they're using nowadays, yeah, you can meet other people at hybrid conferences, online conferences. Um, Obviously, not the same as in person, but there's still a way to do it. I think if that's your intention. I think really important question, and I think there's a lot of people who I think the pharma industry is quite secretive in that unless you're in it, you don't really know much about the realness of it. So I'd want to ask you that you've had a big career within the industry. I guess if someone was aspiring to join the pharma industry as a medical affairs professional or is starting, and they're about to start next week, today, or whatever, I guess what bit of advice would you give them to really set their expectations, but really set them on a path where they're going to grow, develop, and stay and thrive within the industry?
And this I'll quote your former guest in your podcast is to build your network. That is very important. And for me, that resonated really well because that's what I did. I really built my network because I looked at how this could help me frame myself and develop and mold myself into what I intend myself to be as a medical affairs professional. So look for role models as well, or look at every instance where you could learn. Even by not having the best manager, you could learn by looking at that and saying, okay, I won't do this like how he or she did it. So you learn from the mistakes of others as well. But more importantly, establish a network of like-minded professionals such as yourself. And more importantly, in the early phase of one's career is prioritize of learning how to get things done. It's all about, again, not just the execution, but the planning that goes into it. And that's what I mean of getting and knowing how to get things done, not just at the end, but from the beginning as well. So don't be afraid to, oh, okay, this is legwork. There's more to do for me than I actually should. So less of the complaint, but more on really looking at this as a process. Every one of us went through it at one stage in our career. Now, if at the 10th year mark you're still doing that, that's when you need to think, oh, hang on, and I need to move away from this. But I think you get my point that it's really about understanding and absorbing the process. Again, it's not about looking at the destination, but mindful of the journey. But what I found out recently, yes, the journey is important, but you have to be mindful that the journey, the direction should be forward. It shouldn't be backward, or you're spinning around and not getting anywhere. So it's all about that because it's never a straight line. I mean, challenges will come. Definitely, unless you're super exceptional, that you're the 0.1% who didn't have any challenge into becoming a CEO. But obviously, in terms of that path, there are certain milestones there, and it's always good to have a role model, a mentor. So mentorship, coaching is important as well. So if you can have a mentor that could guide you and provide a different perspective in your career path, that would be amazing. So build that, find that within your industry or even with outside of your industry. Like I said, it's important for one to have a different view, to receive feedback, and be mindful and strong to receive feedback, direct feedback. It should be constructive. Again, feedback giving is another topic and session altogether. But in the essence of really developing yourself, that is a crucial part of how you become better, really, in terms of yourself. There would be blind spots. That is human nature, or where you kind of look and see, oh, but kind of go into a state of denial. It needs someone to point it out, so be it. But eventually, it's for the better. And is in life, it's in your career path, if a door closes, a window of opportunity will open. You can bet your horses on that. That will happen. And that has happened to my career. Initially, I thought, oh, what a setback. But actually, looking back, oh, actually, this window of opportunity opened, which I thought the door was closed and slammed in my face. So that's a piece of advice that I could give to your listeners and viewers, Amish.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, there's so much there that you gave there. Like all of it resonated. I mean, I think the fundamental theme was like your mindset basically towards it, whether that's your role, the people around you, being open to feedback. But the key thing I was thinking of when you were talking there as well is around you talked about moving forwards in the journey. And even I was thinking back to a role and a team where it wasn't all just like all happy days, and actually it's probably one of the worst kind of teams I'd been in terms of culture, management style, and all of that. But I learned probably the most from that than I had to that point, and realized actually I've had it really good up until that point, and these are the reasons why I've had it good. It made me reflect on the past to be like, okay, this is why I had it good because I needed this, and this in my environment to learn. And this is now what I don't want going forwards. And as you mentioned, yeah, it's all about that mindset and going forwards and learning from the positives and the negatives. You've quoted quite a lot of mantras actually. I guess if there's one closing mantra or quote or insight into the way you think, what would that be?
I think really in terms I'd share my secret in terms of how I work. It's again going back to the concept of simplicity. I think really in terms of how a medical affairs professional would be, if it would be a concept in architectural design, it would be minimalism. I mean, just trim out the excess and just focus on being lean, straight to the point, not do away with the fluff, and just be straight and pure in terms of how you do things, being very conserving in your movement. So it's kind of like again a piece of well a way of martial arts, I guess. With minimal movements, you're able to create a lot of impact. And so in terms of what you do, just be focused and don't exert yourself too much. I know it's all about performing at your best, and that's fine, definitely. But be mindful that, again, you have finite capabilities and resources. You're in here for the long term. So just be mindful of yourself. I mean, protect yourself at all times. It's like a boxing a rule before the boxers engage in a bout. The referee steps in and says, the cardinal rule is protect yourself at all times. So, and especially in this time and period where so much is wanted of us, there's so much in terms of digital solutions that make things quicker in terms of coming through with just anything that you need to do. So your mental health is not built for that digital speed type environment. So take care of yourself, and yeah, before you can take care of others, take care of yourself. Just like when you are in an airplane, when the oxygen masks come down, put on yours first before you put it on others. So again, just be mindful of and take care of yourself.
Before I do close it there, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wanted me to ask you that you'd love to share?
No, it's everything has been covered because again, how I've kind of answered your questions is leaning on our experience of working together, Amish, because I'd like to really call out the fun we had. And at one point, it was like, are we really working? Because we felt like we're having too much fun.
Mm.
But
That's how
again,
it
like
should
I
be,
said,
right? Yeah, that
yeah,
this is the thing. I think there's not enough fun in what we do in work, and I think if I think about the marketing side of things as well, actually, like content creation should be fun, right? But actually, I think it's a bit of a chore for people, and it's just wrong, and people hate doing it. It's a to-do list, but really, it should be fun. Everything we do should be fun.
exactly. And it's a shame that people feel wrongly about it. It's all about being creative as well. We have it, everyone has it in them. And so bringing it out, if you could bring that out in people And as we are leaders in leading a team, if we can bring out the best in our people, that's amazing. And that's something that we should aspire for.
Yeah. Okay, I got another question for you. Sorry. Uh, if there's any leaders out there listening, what is one tip you'd give them to create that right environment to have their teams be creative, be themselves, and be okay to allow them to be themselves and express themselves? What one tip would you give to other leaders out there?
Probably just deconstructing that really and saying that I'd like to think myself as a good leader, and in reaching that, I was a good follower. So for me to think that I became a good leader is because I was a good follower. And so it's all about compassionate leadership, just watching out and taking care of your people and building that trust, maintaining that trust is more important, because you can build trust and then in 1 second that falls down. And so maintaining that, being open, and really straight, direct to the point. Don't let things linger on too long to the point that it's lost, and it just gets really out of hand. So more importantly, just take care of your people that way.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Philip Cruz.
Always a pleasure, Amish, and more power to final form.
Yes. Thank you to Philip Cruz and for you guys for tuning in. If you resonated with anything that was said or have any questions, please get in touch. All of the details are in the show notes. To get alerted when the next episode is out, make sure you are subscribed on YouTube or tap the follow button on Spotify. And that's it. See you soon.